Hurricane season is officially over in Florida, and I am glad I survived 3 storms this year. All 3 have pretty much hit my hometown of Sarasota, Florida. Hello, everyone. My name is Brett McDurphy, and I'm joined by my co-host and partner in crime, Mr. Sean Kula of the Red, White, and Bills. Man, it has been a awful last few weeks for me. Got hit by Hurricane Helene and then get hit by Hurricane Milton. Both of them have done a lot of damage to my hometown, but thank God we were able to get through them. No injuries to my family, no injuries to anybody that I know. A lot of damage on the outside, though, but pretty much everybody is safe and healthy, and we can survive with cars that are injured. We can survive with, so many other things that we may have lost, but we can't survive if we don't take care of ourselves. And that's the one thing that Sean told me before the storm is to take care of yourself and get out. And I didn't necessarily listen to his advice. I did kind of become a little bit of a girl and moved away from the storm a little bit, but I moved into an area that got hit harder than it would have at my house. So I listened to his advice, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's the story of things. But enough of the storm. Let's talk about Buffalo Bills football, because that's what you guys are here for, and that's the most important thing. But obviously, let's pray for the people that are affected by Hurricanes Milton and Helene. So, Sean, let's talk about this upcoming matchup tomorrow. I mean, man, it's been a crazy week, starting with the Hurricane, and then now we get to talk about Buffalo Bills football, where we have a bunch of news that came out from Buffalo, and one of the biggest moves was the trade of Amari Cooper, and that's where I want to jump into things today. Talk about what we've seen so far. The Bills have given up a 3rd-round pick and a 7th-round pick to acquire Amari Cooper and a 6th-round pick in the future NFL draft. And, man, I love this move. I mean, it's a great move for Buffalo because, number one, I felt like if we are going to make a move for and acquire a big-name receiver, we may have to give up that pick that we acquired in the trade of Stephon Diggs. And we didn't have to give that up. We gave up a 3rd-round pick. It's going to be later in the 3rd round because the Bills are most likely going to make the playoffs. So this is a later pick, and you're not going to get the same talent that you would by getting Amari Cooper in the 3rd round. You're not going to find that type of talent. A star wide receiver that's been so good wherever he's been, whether it's been in Dallas, Las Vegas, or Oakland when he was there, in Cleveland. He's done a great job. So now on his 4th team with the Buffalo Bills, let's talk about that a little bit. And Sean, give your side of things, how you feel about that trade.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's probably besides drafting Josh, the best move Brandon Beane's ever made. Because every year, you guys especially, I'm always at the deadline, I'm like, okay, real contenders, they go get Christian McCaffrey like the Niners did. They go trade whoever and so to make sure they have a key piece going into a playoff run. The Rams got Von Miller and OBJ. So I was always waiting for when is Beane actually going to be all in like that. And last year, a couple years ago, we got Nyheim Hines, and I was like, well, that's not the move. That's not. What was the point of that? And I'm not saying I was the first one to think of Amari Cooper, but that day, I was literally on the phone with Mike like 2 hours before the news broke. And I was like, I could see us getting a guy like him, obviously, because it only be $800,000 cap hit. And Mike was saying, oh, we'd probably wait till near the end of the deadline. I said, no, bring him in like ASAP because you want him to be into the offense as soon as possible. So when you get down the line in 3 weeks, when you play Miami again, he's ready to go. Yeah. And then not 2 hours later, the news breaks. One thing I do want to say, though, I know all of the Bills Mafia is hyped up about it now, right? Having a bona fide guy. But I remember preseason, I was one of the few to mention not having a guy like Stephon Diggs to take attention away might cause problems for us. And everyone said, no, he sucked. He didn't do anything the last 8 weeks, right? He didn't do anything, but he was on the field. And it scares defenses. I said, I want to see what we're going to be like without something like that. And now everyone forgets that they were saying that we don't need anybody like that. Now we got him, and everyone's back on he's so great, and he is. But I was in the beginning saying we needed a guy like him, and now we have a guy, and he's going to make everything better for everyone. Josh is going to be able to have someone he can rely on. And he's also not a guy like Diggs where he's going to, whine and complain like a girl if he's not getting the ball. So he's the type of guy that if he gets the ball 5 times, he'll be happy. If he gets the ball 1 time, he'll be the same. He's not going to cause problems and drama, but he's going to be a force on the team. And then it'll help Shakir, Coleman, whoever's on the field, Matt Collins, and they won't be the ones that have to make the big superstar plays. And
Right.
And like John says, we were fine without Diggs. And yeah, we were fine, but we weren't great without Diggs. And, like that time against Baltimore and against Houston, when those guys weren't stepping up and Josh wasn't making good throws, if you had a guy like Amari Cooper, defenses can't play you the same way they were playing us those 2 weeks where we struggled a lot. So having a guy like him, who's one of the best route runners in the league, who's super fast, great hands. Obviously, he has trouble catching the ball this year, but part of that is Deshaun Watson having one of the most horrible thrown balls in the world. I think it was a picture I think maybe you sent. He had 445 uncatchable yards thrown at him.
Yep.
Like that's horrible. So
yeah, it is.
That in with Josh, and like John says, everybody eats. He's the type of guy that fits perfectly with that because, again, like I mentioned earlier, he's not going to complain. He's not going to throw shade. He's not going to throw tablets. He's not going to whine on the sideline. So having a bona fide star like him in that kind of mantra, I think that's going to be great. And then it's just going to make everything easier for everyone else. And I obviously might not see it week 1 or 2 with him, but by the end of the year, it's gonna be awesome. And I honestly think this could be even better than a connection that he had with Diggs. So I'm looking forward to it. And this is the kind of move you make when you want to compete, because as much as I thought we were fine without having him too, you kind of noticed when those teams had the personnel on defense to man up with you on your receivers. We struggled a little bit because they couldn't get open in time. Josh panicked, had horrible throws, left pockets early, and now that won't happen as much. And I think that'll be great for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we saw it, 2 games ago. There's a big difference when Khalil Shakir was on the field versus when he was not. And last game against the New York Jets, it was obvious that the Bills had an issue with the X position. I mean, you're not going to be able to tell me that Matt Collins being on the field for all those plays is a significant upgrade over Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis, one of the two. It's not. I'm sorry to say that. Love what I've seen out of Matt Collins. He's getting open, but he's not a number 1 receiver in an offense. You're looking for a guy that can take pressure off of guys like Keon Coleman who are coming into the league. And they're going to have those games where there's going to be the ups and downs of the NFL. He's still learning the game. He's still learning the pace of the game as well. And it's not going to be perfect out there. So now it takes a lot of the pressure off of Keon Coleman. He can learn behind a true number 1 receiver. He doesn't have to make those big plays each and every game. And he can sit on the sidelines and learn with Adam Henry's on the side. And this move also helps out the Bills because Adam Henry's has a relationship with Amari Cooper. He spent time with him in Dallas, and that helps as well. So you're getting a guy that's a number 1 receiver that has had 1,000-yard seasons under his belt in Dallas and in Vegas as well as Cleveland. And this is the receiver that you're going to have another security blanket besides Khalil Shakir in the slot. This also opens up the game for Curtis Samuel a lot more too. You saw last game that the Bills were trying to move him around to get some separation on him. It's not going to happen when you're taking away your number 1 wide receiver by putting a big name cornerback on him. Now you can move Samuel around, put him in the slot, make him in the same position as Khalil Shakir on the opposite side. And now you're going to see one-on-one matchups for Samuel. You're going to see some yardage being gained a lot more. And this is a great move from the Buffalo Bills because not only is it going to open up things for different receivers, but it's also going to open up the tight ends a little bit more as well. I want to go up a comment real quick with John Paulo before I let Sean talk real quick. He says, I like the addition of Cooper, and we got a good deal. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. And, I know they're not talking about it now, but you could definitely – he probably has got a couple – besides this year, a couple good years left in him.
Yeah.
Especially since you gave up a 3rd-round pick. You'd like to sign him. Obviously, the reason Dallas gave him to the Browns for a 5th-round pick a few years ago. He wanted like $20-something million a year. Dallas didn't want to pay that. And then he went to Cleveland, got a little bit of I can't remember what he got paid. But I think at this point, if it works out good for you and he's willing to, have a decent deal, I don't see why not sign him for 2 more years, draft another receiver, and then you got him, Coleman, Shakir, and then the new receiver who can all, continue to learn from a guy like Amari Cooper, because that's a huge thing too. Like, the reason I like the Von Miller signing so much years ago was because I assumed guys like Epinesa and Rousseau would learn a ton from him. Obviously, it hasn't really paid off in, Greg Rousseau's situation because, we always love talking about the week 1 with 3 sacks, but he hasn't done much since. AJ, he has a spurts too, but even both of them, like, I would have expected way more progression by then, but still, they're learning from him. So if you just had Khalil Shakir as your veteran in the receiver room, well, that's not going to help Coleman that much. Yeah, sure. I mean, he is going with molds and training, but there's nothing better than having a true veteran who's been around the block, who's done, 1,000-yard receiver every year, 5-time Pro Bowler. That just it speaks volumes and pays dividends in the long run. So, and again, like you mentioned, the biggest part is it frees up a lot of stuff. If he gets double teamed, and then they can't bracket Kincaid anymore, they can't put their best corner on Coleman. So, regardless of what happens, it's gonna be good for us. And as long as like John said, continues the Josh spreads the ball around and doesn't just force Cooper every time. Like, obviously, throw to the open guy if Cooper's open most of the time, throw him the football. But you don't need to pepper him with 20 targets because, again, he's not going to be dramatic. He just wants to win. Especially he was on a team that was 1-5. So, he's never been that type of guy to be how Diggs was. Like, I love Stephon Diggs. I still have his jersey. But Cooper's a different kind of guy. Still very, they're probably similar skill. I mean, Diggs may have, a better hands, but I think Cooper's got better route running, and they're both physical and strong. Yeah. So they're very good. I think it's a perfect trade-off because you lost a guy like Diggs, you bring a guy like Cooper in. Man, this is as soon as I saw the news, I couldn't wait till the game. I know he's not going to play that much probably, but you can get him in there. So, hey, here's some plays I want you to learn. Try to get those down for the game. And then bottom line, they can just be like, hey, go run a go route. Beat your coverage. Go run a slant route. Go run a deep crosser. Go run an out route. Like, they can get him in. So if he doesn't play at all, that's absolutely ridiculous. But they can definitely work him in now, and then probably by the Miami game, he'll be. I mean, he's a veteran. Like, he's gonna learn the offense no matter how difficult they say it is, and he'll be good to go. And then, it's exciting, man, because like John kind of mentioned earlier, the offense was doing pretty good, but there was times where you could tell we needed that bona fide guy. Now we got him. And even remember that Gabe Davis when he was a wide receiver 3, how good that was.
Yeah.
And when he got to a wide receiver 2, it wasn't that good. But now you put Shakir as a wide receiver 2, Coleman as a wide receiver 3, Matt Collins as a wide receiver 4, and not for nothing. Obviously, Matt Collins isn't the best receiver in the world, but he beats his man a lot, surprisingly.
Yeah.
So if he's not as a wide receiver 2 or 3, that's awesome. And then you still got Cook and Ray Davis in the backfield, so this is going to be exciting. And obviously, the Titans have a good defense, and we'll talk about that. But I think we'll have a good day.
Yeah, I completely agree. You did forget Curtis Samuel when you were mentioning the receivers. You didn't mention him, so I know he's having a disappointing year so far, but I think it's part of the process. Trust me, I think he's going to have a big game against the Titans.
That's one thing I did say in the offseason too, Brett. You remember, and I'm not trying to take victory laps, but people keep bringing up, oh, he's injured. No, he's not. He's been playing every game. If he was that injured, he wouldn't play. And Cook has the same injury, and he's playing this week. He's playing tomorrow. Yeah. So, and Samuel's had the turf toe since in the offseason. So I'm not using that as an excuse for him. But everybody tried to tell me, they fed me the bill of goods. His best year was with Joe Brady. And I mean, you even heard me say it because I had to buy into it too. I'm always the last person to buy into things, but I ended up buying into it. And then, but I was adamant on different team, different situation. He comes here, doesn't guarantee he's going to be a 1,000 total yard player. And as you saw after 6 weeks, he's not a staple in the offense whatsoever. So even when Shakir was out, he didn't even get used. He had 2 catches for 1 yard. Like he's not going to be this type of guy in our offense because they want to put in Cook, Davis, Shakir, Coleman, Kincaid, and now you got Cooper. So he's really they're not going to game plan for Curtis Samuel. But to your point, John, hopefully he'll look a little bit better because now maybe you can do different things with him because he's not getting more focused because maybe they're like, oh, well, Curtis Samuel's on the field, something's going on. So I like that.
I also think, to the last part that I'm going to mention about Curtis Samuel, I think it opens things up a little bit for him because now he can take shots on the deep route, especially when we released Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and this is an opportunity for him to go deep and gain some yardage. So that 1,000 yards. I know we mentioned that he had his best season with Joe Brady. That's been the focal point. Now you're going to get your shot. Okay, take the deep routes, disguise coverage, draw people away from you. That's the one thing I saw in the Jets game is when you're looking at Keon Coleman, he wasn't taking the coverage with him, and he wasn't opening up play for different receivers. The receiver that was next to him. That's one of the things that I disliked about his route running. He's got to take his guy with him. He's got to open up the field for the middle of the field in certain situations for the wide receiver that's next to him, and he wasn't doing that. He's got to learn that. He's going to go back to the film, and he'll learn that, and that's one of the things that you'll see happen. But you got to take your guy with you no matter where you go. You can't, you got to sell your route. That's what I say. Is sell your route at the end of the day, and that's what he wasn't doing. So we'll move on to the next thing is that John Paulo was mentioning is hopefully Ray Davis will get more touches and let Cook rest a little bit. Man, what a game from Ray Davis. So
good to go.
I don't know. I mean, he's questionable for the game. I know that, but we'll see what happens.
Nobody was ruled out.
Nobody was ruled out so far, which is great to see. I think we're pretty much back.
We got 2 banged up running back. We got 2 banged up running backs and Ty Johnson. So,
but we haven't called anybody up. Frank Gore Jr. hasn't been called up, so that's a good sign that we're going to get James Cook back. Hopefully, Ray Davis. I imagine that he will play in this game as well.
It would have been a good day to call up Gore just in case, because you can imagine a possible blowout type where you rest some players. Obviously, it might not happen that way, but this is one of those games where you could probably get some young guys. John, he had a calf injury in practice, so of course, just like Oliver had the hamstring in practice. And Cook, as soon as he had his good game, had his turf toe. So it seems to be a common theme. But yeah, Trucker mentions Max Crosby. Yeah, that would be amazing. But he's got like a $25 million cap hit this year.
Yeah.
So unless the Raiders took all of it, then we gave him like a first round pick, but then we would have to re-sign him. And I don't think, I don't know where, I don't even know where it would be possible. I don't know, maybe not bringing Milano back and a couple other people, but I would definitely like to keep Amari Cooper. So I don't know. Again, we have to see what it's like next year, but I don't think it'd be possible to bring him in. That'd be awesome. But and Max Crosby on this team, oof, that'd be insane.
Did you hear the rumor that the Bills might double dip and go back to a trade with the Cleveland Browns and maybe get Myles Garrett? I don't know if I heard that he's on the rumor spectrum.
Those are guys that are legit. Like how I always say, Brandon Beane, he's okay at drafting. He picks good players, but not great players. Those guys are great players. Like Rousseau's a good player. AJ's a good player. Oliver's great, but he doesn't pick in those early rounds. He doesn't really ever pick those superstars. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Myles Garrett was the first overall pick,
right?
But still, like those are guys that really change games. So if you could get Myles Garrett and he's not expensive, and again you could somehow extend him, hey, that'd be cool. But they also have Zadarius Smith over in Cleveland too.
That's true.
And that'd be sick. I don't think he's going to do anything else. But I think Beane's just talking like, oh, we may not be done. I think he's done. There's not much more we could do unless you pick up like a bum. Like who's that safety we always pick up when he sucks? Dean Marlowe.
Dean Marlowe.
Yeah, I'll probably go pick up Dean Marlowe and say, oh yeah, we did stuff. But
well, listen, I'll tell you this, and then we'll move on to the main attraction, which is going to be the game preview. Myles Garrett's contract for the rest of the season is less than $1 million.
Really?
So he wants to be traded. Now, next year goes up to $18 million. 2026, it goes up to $25 million. So I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to look into the camera and say it. Brandon Beane, if you are listening to the show and you want to make a move to become a Super Bowl contender, you have to go out and get one of the best in the business in Myles Garrett. You got to go out and make a big splash right now. Go get it, your superstar. You have Josh Allen on the other side of the ball. Go get your superstar on defense. Make it happen so that the Bills can win their first Super Bowl. This is what we've been waiting for. Let's do it. Let's run the table and let's win with a superstar on defense that we need. We need that closer besides Von Miller out there. We need another closer, and that will be Myles Garrett. And I think that will be the answer. And I know that will be the answer for the Buffalo Bills winning not one, but probably 3 Super Bowls if you have them on your team.
Yeah, that'd be sick. But again, I don't know what are the expiring contracts on our team, how the cat's going to look next year. But it'd be sick if we could sign them and then renegotiate and then push his money back like 3 years. So then like the first 2 years you don't pay him anything. But right. I don't know. That'd be cool if it was a way. But there probably is. But I don't know. I mean, when we signed Von Miller, we only had like $1 million in cap. And we signed him to a 6-year, $58 million guaranteed deal. So there's always ways to do things. But again, they probably want first and a second for Myles Garrett or Crosby, and I don't think he's willing to do that, even if they took the money. Oh, that's the other thing. If they pay off all the rest of their money, especially Crosby, $25 million, they're already eating Devontae Adams' contract.
Right.
So they don't want to. They want to find someone that's going to take Crosby's contract plus give him asset. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if Crosby's going anywhere, but man, that'd be sick. But yeah, let's get into the game, and then some people probably want to watch the Yankees maybe clinch the ticket to the World Series.
Yeah, it's true. Last thing I will say is, listen, Cleveland's a joke. You got to admit right now, Cleveland's a joke. They already pretty much have screwed up with Deshaun Watson and not keeping Baker Mayfield. I think that's the biggest mistake that they made in the franchise history is moving on from Baker Mayfield. I said it from the beginning that it was going to be a mistake, and guess what? It was a mistake. So they could make another mistake by letting Myles Garrett go. But let's get into this game preview. That's the main attraction of today. Let's talk about the Tennessee Titans and Buffalo Bills. The main thing that I want to talk about, Sean, is the Tennessee Titans. Yes, they are 1-4. Not a very good team right now, but they have made a change at quarterback after a lot of turnovers from Will Levis. Now, we don't really know necessarily if it is a injury-related issue because he did have that shoulder injury 19 days ago on Monday Night Football, but the turnovers are in play, and it could very well be that the Tennessee Titans are keeping it internal, not mentioning that it is a quarterback competition now, and they are turning it over to Mason Rudolph after those turnovers that Will Levis has. So you don't really know there, but new quarterback and somebody knew that the Bills are going to have to learn how to dictate play against, and that's going to be tough because you were preparing for Will Levis to start this game.
Yeah. Well, we did beat Mason Rudolph in the playoffs last year, and then we beat him a couple of years ago, regular season as well. So I think they might have been assuming account for both quarterbacks because he did play in the Miami game, the last game before their bye. So I'm assuming if they were a good organization, good coach team, hopefully they are, they watched and planned for both. But still, he's not mobile. Yeah, he might not turn the ball over as much, but he's not a great he's not a great quarterback. If you lose to Mason Rudolph at home at a 1-4 team, we got problems. So obviously anything can happen on any given day, but I think Will Levis might be a better playmaker, but he's been turning the ball over. Mason Rudolph might not turn the ball over as much, but he's not that much of a playmaker. So obviously they got Boyd and Ridley and D-Hop and Tony Pollard. Tajay Spears is out, so they have Tony Pollard. Obviously, he can catch the ball out of the backfield and run. So they'll probably try to run a lot. Obviously, that's what most teams try to do against us. And then you got to trust that our secondary can go up against these old veteran receivers and lock them down.
Yeah. Yeah, the one thing I want to mention, I mean, is for the offense of the Tennessee Titans, it's going to be stopping D-Hop. That's the biggest thing for me. Rasul Douglas and whoever is going to be the safety that's going up against him is going to have to stop D-Hop. And then it comes down to just stopping the run. Another week of stopping the run. I need to see a lot more. We do have a finally healthy Ed Oliver back out there. Daquan Jones had a good game last week. Let's see a little bit more from the defensive tackles this week. Get into the backfield, make some plays, and disrupt the timing of plays from Mason Rudolph. I want to see them disrupt the pocket and make Mason Rudolph have to escape to his left or his right. That's the one thing I haven't seen, is internal pressure right now from the Bills. And I think it's finally a day where we can say it's due. We've gone up against some pretty good offensive lines over the last few weeks. And now it's time for the Bills to really put their mark on why they're going to be one of the best teams in the AFC this year.
Yeah. Again, a big reason why teams run on us is because we run nickel. And it's a defense that's very easy to run on, obviously, because you got 4 linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. So obviously 4 of those defensive backs are mainly playing coverage. And then you got TJ, who is mainly playing coverage as well. So if he is in the box, it's still a light box. And one of the 6, 7 players is a small defensive back. So obviously, if you run on that, you're probably going to be successful more than you're not. So and that's what I've always said. Oh, we can never stop the run. Well, it's obvious because we're in the same defense every year. So they'll probably run a little bit, but we've stopped the run before. You know, we've even stopped Derrick Henry before a couple times. We've stopped a couple other good ones I can't remember, but we've definitely stopped good running backs before. And when you go back to their O-line, they're somewhat rebuilded. I mean, they got J.C. Latham in their top 10 pick last year. He's so right now. And then you got Skoronski, who we talked about a couple years ago. He was a 2-year ago draft in their top 15. He was a tackle, I think, in the draft, but then now he's playing left guard. So their left tackle, left guard is pretty much new. Their center's okay. The right tackle is horrible. And their right guard is kind of trash too. So again, we thought with the Ravens beat up offensive line, we'd have a good day. We didn't. And this is an opportunity where you're playing another, so-so offensive line, and we should, really step up in the situation. And again, as much as D-Hop's D-Hop and Ridley's really good, he beat us up pretty good last year. These guys are old. Boyd, Ridley, and D-Hop. Like if this was in their prime, then oh man, we'd be cooked. But I think we should be able to do very good with them. And then again, Tony Pollard's going to have some good plays, but I think if we just wrap up and don't miss tackles, I think we can stop the run enough to get a lead, and then they have to pass the ball, and then that's when we win the game.
Yeah, completely agree with what you're saying there. I definitely think that this is going to be one of those games that the Bills are going to have to come out strong. And if they don't, then this is going to be one of the games that they're going to struggle in. But this is definitely has the recipe for a trap game. I'm not going to lie. I just feel like with the starting quarterback position, I feel like it's kind of wishy-washy. You don't really expect somebody to go out there and do a good job. And that's why I feel like the Bills are going to win this game by a lot. The Bills are favored to win this game by 9.5. That's what the biggest spread is right now with the Mason Rudolph situation. So they gained 1 point. They opened up at 8.5, and now they're 9.5. So that's the situation that we are in. I do see the comments out there, and I do see one from John Paulo. Keith, I will get to that after we get to the defense for the Tennessee Titans and talking about the Bills offense. We will get to that right after, but just stay tuned a little bit longer and we will get to those comments. I appreciate you guys tuning into the chat as well. But Sean, let's turn it over to the other side of the ball. Let's talk about the defense of the Tennessee Titans. There are some injuries. Sweat is injured right now. We don't expect him to play necessarily, so we'll see what happens there. And then,
is he questionable or doubtful?
I feel like he's questionable, I believe, for the game.
I know
he had multiple days of practice, so that's one thing that the Bills have in their favor. So we'll see what happens. He's a game time decision for this game, so we'll see what happens.
Even if he does play, he's same thing with L'Jarius Sneed. He was banged up, so if they do play, they're not going to be 100%.
Right. That's going to be hard to, especially with a defense that's doesn't have a lot of depth like the Buffalo Bills do. I mean, you plug and play different people for the Buffalo Bills, and you're going to be fine. The Tennessee Titans, they don't have that depth behind them. There's going to be a little bit of a drop-off from a Sweat to the next person in line behind him. So it'll be interesting to see. But I feel like there's some areas that the Bills can exploit, especially with Sneed. If he is out, I feel like we can start to open up the offense by passing the ball a little bit more. And that game plan that we've had so far is run the ball on first and second down. Now we can take advantage of the air attack. And it's kind of time to see Josh Allen throw the ball a little bit more than 25 times a game. Would you agree?
Yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, so it'd be nice to let him air it out. They're ranked, I think one of the best defenses in the NFL. I think they're top 3 in all pass categories, but again, they play Tyler Huntley. They played Aaron Rodgers when he had a terrible start to the season. He's still kind of bad, but they haven't played many talented players. And I think that goes into and Caleb Williams in his first ever NFL start. So obviously he wasn't going to be that good. So yeah, statistically they're really good, but they haven't played a team with a guy like Josh Allen or with what we got on offense. So they still got really good players over there. I'm not trying to discredit them, but I'm not thinking like we're not going to be able to push the ball down the field at all.
Right.
Against this team. So again, they got great players. Jeffrey Simmons, obviously, Quandre Diggs, a really good safety. L'Jarius Sneed obviously was one of the best corners in the league last year. I know PFF wise, he's one of the worst this year, but again, he's still talented. And then again, T'Vondre Sweat, a guy we always wanted. He's going to be hard. It'd be a good test for this interior O line with Simmons and Sweat. So definitely, they got some superstars over there, but not afraid that we can't move the ball.
Yeah, you talk about the X factors on defense, especially with Jeffrey Simmons and Sweat. I feel like they are the main focal points of who you need to watch out for on the defensive line. But then in the backfield, L'Jarius Sneed, one of the best cornerbacks for Steve Spagnuolo when they were going to the Super Bowl. They bring him over from Kansas City, and it's a wonderful trade that they've made. He's somebody that's going to take away a number 1 wide receiver. Now, is that necessarily going to be Amari Cooper? Maybe it is, and maybe the Bills just say, hey, listen, we need somebody to come in here that's got the big name, take away some of the covers so that we can get guys like Curtis Samuel and Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir open. Maybe that's what the Bills decided to do. So that's definitely a move that I would like to see. I do see your comments in here, some of the questions about trades. We will get to that after this. Real quick, the next topic that we will get to is the trades that you guys are mentioning. We appreciate those comments. Just stay tuned a little bit longer, guys, in here. But, Sean, yeah, I mean, I see a lot of X factors and different things that the Bills can exploit. But let's talk about some of the keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills and how they can win this game. Let's start with just going back and forth, one key that you have.
Yeah, well, obviously it all starts up front. So win the line of scrimmage. Obviously you got guys like Sweat and Simmons. So it's good, controlling the line of scrimmage is going to be key in being able to run the football, play action, and things like that. So definitely got to win up front as always.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's a great area. Last week, the one thing I want to mention is the amount of penalties that the Bills had. This is a game where you can't shoot yourself in the foot. You got to take care of yourself, number one, and take care of your mindset. It was more of a game where we're going up against an AFC East rival, and this week we're not going up against that. Let's take care of ourselves, not shoot ourselves in the foot, and put ourselves in situations where we are going to turn the ball over or stall on drives. So let's take care of the ball and not make mistakes out there. That's the one thing I've seen. And listen, I'm going to say this to my point of the penalties as well as turnovers. Take care of the ball. Josh Allen has done a wonderful job of not having an interception so far this year. And let's just continue to take care of the ball. That's my biggest takeaways of what we can do.
Definitely. Yeah, it's been good. So we got to continue that. Obviously, he's not going to throw 0 picks all year, but definitely keep being smart with the football and being efficient on offense, which we've been for most of the time. But yeah, you got to obviously getting pressure is important, but new quarterback in there. Obviously, we played against them before. They're going to try to run the football. They got some pretty good weapons over there offensively. You got to disrupt Mason Rudolph, get the push from up front, interior with the D tackles, and then be able to keep him inside the pocket, make him panic, force him into bad throws, which he'll throw. And then maybe for us, get a couple turnovers, get some short field, get up on them quick, so they're going to struggle catching up if we're up by 2 scores. So definitely got to get ahead, stay ahead, and obviously you mentioned we played an emotional rivalry game. It's important that you don't just crash down when you play a bad team.
Yeah.
You want to keep that energy up because if you lose to this team, it doesn't matter that you just beat your division rival again. So definitely important to keep the energy high.
Yeah, especially at home, we need to take care of things. We have an 80% winning percentage under Sean McDermott at home. Let's continue that. Take care of the turf, where you belong, and keep doing it. That's the biggest thing that I have to say. Any other keys to the game for you, Sean?
Stop the run. Obviously, you're not going to keep them to nothing, but be able to keep the run minimal because that will help them keep in the game. If you let them run the football on you, they might not be great off passing the ball with Rudolph. But they'll be able to put some points on the board if you allow them to run. And then again, if Josh is throwing you the football, catch the ball, and then Josh, don't be afraid if the window is tight to throw it because you don't want to throw interceptions. It's hard for these guys to get open sometimes, but when they do, don't be afraid to throw the ball. Yeah. And again, last game he was good at it, but the 2 games where we lost, he was really bad at going through progressions. He just locked onto a guy and threw it. Pay attention to all your progressions, go through all your reads, and then if you obviously you want to throw it deep, you can also see that, if I waited a second, Kincaid was running across the middle wide open, nobody was near him, that would have been a big gain. So take the higher percentage completions rather than the low ones. If the deep ball opens up, throw it, but don't just go looking, I got to throw it 20 to 40 yards downfield every time. Right. Stick to the 10 to 15, 20-yard range, and eventually the deep ball will open up. And then when you do have the deep ball open up, actually hit them. He's been pretty bad with his deep ball accuracy the last couple years. I mean, he missed a couple of MVS when he was wide open. Then Matt Collins' one was a horrible pass. He was wide open. So with Amari Cooper, hopefully you don't miss him when he gets wide open because you're one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You got to hit these balls because I feel like he's the only one that can't really hit deep balls consistently at all. Every quarterback I've seen, even the worst quarterbacks, connect multiple times in a game on a deep pass. So
Daniel Jones, I'm going to say that right now.
And then once you can hit those deep balls, you'll be back to putting up 300 plus yards a game, 3 to 4 touchdowns a game, and then really start putting teams away.
Yeah, 100%. That's the one thing that we need to work on is the deep ball. And I feel like that's why we brought in Amari Cooper, is somebody that can that has the ability to run routes very well, be in the position, and maybe it's a communication issue. That's why Josh is having issues right now. He's got different wide receivers that are new. And now you bring in another wide receiver that's new, but somebody that's got great route running and ability to be in the right spot. That's what I see there. Let's turn it over real quick, Sean. We got a couple of comments about trades. And we mentioned the trade deadline, what the Bills could do. But there's a few questions from the chat. I want to start with John Paulo. Keith coming into the chat. He says, what do you think happens with Elam? with the trade deadline going on or trade period going on, what do you feel like the Bills are going to do with Elam? Do you feel like they're going to move on from him and let him explore a trade, or do you feel like he's going to be on the team for the rest of the season?
No, I think they'll keep him unless there's a real good deal. But I mean, they'll have to be putting Cam Lewis out there, and we know some people don't like that. But I mean, I wouldn't give up on him yet. First round pick, unless again somebody gives you a sweet deal, and then you lose some depth at corner. So I don't know. It depends on if they give an offer you can't refuse. But I got a feeling he's going to stay.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's going to stay as well. I don't feel like there's going to be a trade that's going to really surprise the Buffalo Bills with Kyrie Elam. You haven't seen him out there on the field a lot, and the trade value right now is very low on him. But if he was on the field, maybe things would be different. And then the next question that we have is from Billy D. Williams coming in saying, should we trade for Miles from Cleveland? I mentioned it earlier, and I know that Sean probably agrees with me. If this is a move that Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane make, then this is the move that we need to make in order to solidify ourselves as a Super Bowl contender. We are missing that one piece on defense, that closer, and we're also missing somebody in the secondary. This move solidifies the secondary because you have somebody that can come in and can close out games, put pressure on the quarterback, make him make mistakes, and it makes people around him better. And that's why I like the move by getting Myles Garrett. And I feel like it would open up a lot on defense for the Buffalo Bills, make people that are around him better. Would you agree, Sean?
Yeah, I love that. Like I said, I just don't know about, the future with it. Because like you said, he's got a couple really big year cap hits next year and the year after. I don't know how we can rework it because you have to obviously re-sign him because you don't want to, Cooper for a third-round pick, Garrett probably a second-round pick or a first-round pick. And if you don't re-sign any of them, then you just lost all your draft capital. So you definitely want to win on top of that, but keep guys like that. You want to keep guys like Cooper for a couple years and Garrett for, 4 to 5. So I would love to do it. I'm not an expert at the cap, or I don't even pay attention to how much we got left or what we got next year. But I do know there's probably ways for it to happen. But again, it all depends on what they think we can manage and handle. Because obviously we still got to resign Shakir, Bernard, Cooper. There's a couple people that are coming up next year Rousseau Douglas that you like to keep, and you might have to cut guys like Matt Milano to keep these guys. But we'll see when that time comes. But if it's a Super Bowl, that's a Super Bowl move, that's for sure.
Yeah,
having a guy like him.
Yeah, what would you feel about the Bills releasing Von Miller and going after Myles Garrett? What do you think of that move?
Right now, no, they can't do that.
I mean, I know it'd be crazy to do, but the Bills can move on from all the guaranteed money that's in Von Miller's contract, and because of the incident of him being suspended, that voids the guaranteed money that he has. So the Bills could move on. It does.
Because he comes back, he still has to get paid, though. So I don't think it really – I think if he got suspended for good, then it would. But he's coming back next week, so he's not going to – it doesn't take away all of his money that he's owed. So, next year we can get rid of him.
Yeah.
I think that's a thing, and he might even retire next year. You could be right. I'm not sure about this year. But he's been good. And you don't want to keep – obviously – Garrett is an improvement for anybody, but I would like to keep Von and Garrett. Von, Garrett, and then you got Rousseau and Epinesa as your backups. Obviously Von's not a starter anymore, but you know what I mean. It'd be having 2 superstars and then those young guys. I think that'd be amazing. But again, I don't think. I'm just happy we got Amari Cooper. That was if he was like $3 million, we wouldn't have got him. So
how I kind of feel about this move if you do go out and get a Myles Garrett. It kind of reminds me back a few years ago when the Bills went after Mario Williams. And you remember when we got Mario Williams, there's a guy that was opposite of him. We've signed 2 different defensive ends at the time. Mario Williams, Mark Anderson. Don't know if you remember him.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Anderson got one of the biggest contracts for the Buffalo Bills. and didn't even play a year for the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was an embarrassing contract. The Bills moved on from him. And do you remember who they got after that at the end of the season?
It's slipping my mind, but I know.
An all-pro linebacker who
Zoe?
played for the San Diego Chargers.
Oh man.
Nicknamed Lights Out.
Oh gosh.
See if you can remember.
I won't be able to remember right now.
Sean Merriman.
Yeah.
They got Sean Merriman.
I was thinking Marion, but yeah, Sean Merriman. Yeah, he was also the name was also the name of a basketball player who played for the Phoenix Suns. So yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember that move. I remember saying it and everything, and I'm like, man, it goes back, and I just remember the names. And if you look at what the Bills had at the time, and I know I'm getting off point and everything, but when you look back at what the Bills had back then, and all the playmakers that like the guys that were big names elsewhere on our team, and we still couldn't get it done. We still couldn't get to the playoffs at that point. It just amazes me.
They didn't build a team right. And yeah, I know I'm not the best at trivia. I barely can remember yesterday. So Jake would have been good with that. But yeah, again, I would love to have a guy like we're built right now where you need a superstar like Garrett to really put you over the top.
Yeah.
It would be awesome. I'm worried that you'd have to give up a first and a second for him or both. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's certain that we can even re-sign him. So I still want, obviously, I want proven players, but also I want draft as well because you got to re-supplement through the draft as well. But man, if you could, I would trade a second round. I would trade that second round pick from the Vikings for him, and if I could re-sign him, I would in a heartbeat. But again, I don't know if that's even possible. But
what about both second round picks? Would you do it?
Yeah, probably.
And that would be crazy for 3 years.
If I could guarantee that he's locked up for 4 years, yeah, absolutely.
3 years of Myles Garrett because you got 2 years under contract after now. Yeah. So you got this year and 2 years.
I want more years. I want like an extra year on top of the 2 extra. So I want like 3 years plus this year, so 3.5. I want 3.5 years. I'll give up the 2 seconds for him. Yeah,
that's crazy to think about. If the Bills do it,
but that's you're not getting a guy like that ever. So
no.
We never had a guy like that.
No, listen,
not since Bruce Smith.
We had a former number 1 pick in Mario Williams, and that was the last.
He wasn't like Garrett though.
But he wasn't like Myles Garrett.
I mean, like a player like him. Obviously, I know we had some early picks, but I mean the caliber of player, not since Bruce, man. So, and Bean doesn't draft players like that. He drafted Josh.
Yeah.
Like people say, oh, Tremaine wasn't that great. Trey White, He was good for a couple years and then fell off. So I don't know. I want that game changing superstar.
Yeah, I like this comment from Billy D. Williams. He said, "I'm good with whatever, but worry about."
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, hey, if they bring him in, I'm jumping for joy and probably saying Super Bowl. So I definitely rather worry later. I've been the guy. I mean, the Rams did it. They sold out and they won.
I was just about to mention that.
I want to win, but I want to consistently be good. Yeah, I'm a Washington. Again, I always go back to. I'm a Washington Nationals fan. I've been a Washington Nationals fan since 2006, and we were good for a long time. We couldn't get out of the first round, and then 2019 we finally won the World Series, and ever since then we haven't made the playoffs. And as much as I have all the gear, I have the hats, I have the memory. I watched the highlights of the last game 7 of the World Series, but then I watch us lose 100 games every year, 90 games every year, and it's just not the same anymore. Like I just want to be good, I want to win, and continue to be like the Chiefs. They win and they consistently be good. And like you said, you've been a fan since '88. I've been a fan since '05. You know, when I was maybe even earlier than that. I think I was like 6 or 7 years old. I was born in '95, so you got to see the Super Bowl years just like our friend Mike did, but you didn't get to see a win. So we definitely need to see that. And yeah, I would love to sell out to win one. But if it meant sucking for 10 years, I don't know. Maybe I would take it. But sitting here where I am right now, I just want to always be good. Like, 'cause I remember how much it sucked to be horrible. The 17 years of being trash. I don't ever want to be that again, not even for 1 year. So,
No.
but
But
yeah,
it's going to happen. Listen, it's going to happen. I'm going to
it
tell
could
you that right
eventually.
now.
Yeah, I mean, make a move like that. You got him locked up for 3 years. You draft consistently decent. You still got Josh Allen, and as long as if you know Josh Allen's got like 3 years left in his career, bring a guy in already. Let's say he's like 35 years old, and you're like, oh, he's got 3 years left in his deal, then he's going to be done. Have him help you draft a quarterback, and have him sit behind Josh. And then when he retires, he's back in, and then you might not have to redo anything. You might just be able to be good again. That's just way down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game, don't let these guys come into your house after you've been away for 3 weeks. And they're a bad team. They got some good players, but they're a bad football team. They have a rookie head coach. We don't. We have a better football team. We have better players. Win at home. Take care of business. You'll be 5-2 going into Seattle, going back on the road again, of course. And then you'll be back home against another division rival in Miami. So go 1-0 every week. Take this 1 week at a time. Don't overlook opponents. Play your brand of football. Don't shoot yourself in the foot with 11 penalties again. Don't miss field goals. Don't drop touchdown passes. Don't throw incorrect routes. Don't throw bad decisions. Don't try to make a play out of nothing when the play's already dead and then fumble the football in the red zone and then luckily your team picks it up. Don't do that. So, just really to wrap it up for me, this could be a really good game. It could be a close game. Could be a blowout game. But there's no disrespect to them. There's no excuse why we should lose this game. But we've lost to Denver last year. We lost to the Patriots last year that won 4 games. So it's possible. So that's why I'm saying just really you got to take care of business, and it's a week-to-week league. So hopefully Coach instilled that message, hey, you came off an emotional victory. Keep the energy high.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll be 5-2, and 5-2 sounds hella good, right?
It sounds hella good. I can't wait for that.
Sure, it sucks. Like, honestly, I would trade losing to the Titans if we beat Houston or Baltimore. Yeah. I would lose to a crappy team to beat one of those good teams because you beat Baltimore. I mean, you beat the Titans and you beat the Seahawks, and then you beat the Dolphins and you beat the Colts, and you're 8-2. Nobody cares because you lost to Baltimore and Houston. Like, obviously Miami was good when we beat them, but now because they lost Tua and they have a bad record, they suck. Yeah, the Jets have a good roster, but the record sucks, so you beat them. Oh, it doesn't matter because they suck. So you're not going to get anyone's good graces for going 8-2 and losing to Houston and Baltimore. So hey, I'd love to be 8-2. I'll sign up for that any day of the week. But yeah, you got to take care of business against these bad teams and then beat some good ones. So let's do it.
100%. Let's do it. Well, Sean, closing thoughts from you. I know you just mentioned them, but for me, take care of business. Let's get a win this week, and I'll be in Buffalo next week, which is going to be great. So I'll be there for the away game. Sadly, I picked the wrong week to be in Buffalo, but it'll be nice and cool up there. And I believe I'm going to be hanging out with Jake Podger. So I don't know if you're going to be able to make the trek over to Jake's house, and maybe you will. But
I'll be there in November.
Hey, maybe I'll make a trip up there. But I got a trip in the end of November, so we'll see what happens. Maybe I can talk my wife into letting me go for a weekend. We'll see what happens there. But don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on all social media. You can find Nickel City Mafia on Instagram, YouTube, as well as Facebook. You can find Sean and Red, White, and Bills on Instagram as well as on YouTube. Click on over to his channel because he is doing some great stuff. He's got the offensive line film #1 that he's doing, and he also has some other shows that he is going to probably, I imagine, start up and have some post-game reactions as well. Sean's one of the coolest guys that I've met so far, and listen, he hasn't done it in a while, but sometimes he changes his username, and it's pretty freaking funny when he does it. I haven't seen one in a while because we're winning, so I imagine that he will start changing them. Also, click on over to my channel. I haven't been active because of the storms and everything, but I will start to be active. We're going to have post-game reactions as well as we'll do pregame and postgame as well as halftime shows. That'll be back on the schedule, and we will also be going full-time next week with all our regular shows. We haven't done them since week 2, unfortunately, but we'll be back with normal shows. So stick around. Also, click that notification bell on all 3 of our channels to be notified anytime we are going live. And you can also find all of the upcoming shows that we will have as a group on my website, gobillspodcast.com. You can click on over there and see anytime that Sean, Nickel City Mafia, or myself is going live. So this has been another episode of Red, White, and Ruthless, our Week 7 preview of the Tennessee Titans and Buffalo Bills. Until next week, we will see you on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, we say, go Bills.
Go Bills.